Hey guys, it's Casual Fridays, and that means it's Nancy Nat's Friday, and we're going to be talking about two ghost themed movies because we want to compare them with what people might think is going on in their houses. See you in about 5 minutes. Grab your popcorn and snacks. Find a comfy spot, take a seat or lie down, and let me transport you to a place of fantasy, ghost stories, ancient legends, odd creatures, alien encounters, and other magical topics. You may even decide to join the conversation. From faraway lands to your own backyard, with a small dash of pixie dust. Turn out the lights and open your minds. The journey is about to begin. Good evening and happy Friday, everybody. This looks really weird. Hang on a second here. Let me adjust. Okay. As I dangle this thing. Good evening and happy Friday. See if I do that. Is this like graduation where if I move it from side to side, it's like oh, there we go. I like it better on that side. It's like when you graduate, right? It goes on one side and then, or when you get married, right? The veil flips sides. I don't know. Anyway, good evening, everybody. It's 1 week away from the Christmas thing going on. I've had an eventful day. I have, and I'm going to tell you about it. I am going to tell you about it. In the meantime, my name is Charlotte, and I am the owner of the California Haunts Paranormal Investigation Team. I'm also going to be your host for the next hour. We are 45 strong up and down the state of California, and that means we can get to you no matter where you're located in the state. It may take us a couple hours, but we will get to you. Why does this hat look so weird? But we will be able to get to you. You see, oh yes, and we also have associate branches in Oregon, Washington, Nevada, and Hawaii. If you need help, you can find us on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us at TikTok. You can find us on Twitch. So let me give you those handles. Over on TikTok, we're California Haunts. It's all lowercase. Over on Instagram, it's Ghosty Gal. GHOSTYGAL, all lowercase. Over on Twitter, it's Cal Haunts. And of course, on Facebook, it's California Haunts or under my personal name. You can reach us. And I will get back to you within an hour of you reaching out to me for help. All right? We're not those run-of-the-mill groups. We like to go in, and that's part of what Nancy and I are going to be talking about tonight. We like to go in and really, really investigate, turn everything inside out, as they say, because we're not just looking for paranormal stuff. We are looking for logical explanations for what may be going on in your residence or your business. All right? Okay, that being said, Nancy and I have an event tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific, and there's still a few tickets available. And we're really excited to do this. And what you're going to get for your $12 is you're going to get a private reading with Nancy for 5 minutes. 5-minute private reading. And what you get your reading. You can ask 1 or 2 questions during that reading. And you also get a personal copy of that. I will either email you the video, but if you have trouble with video, I can even email you the audio for that. So it's kind of like a fun thing for Christmas, all right? You know, you might have some deceased relatives right now. My mother's here with me, so I mean, this is the time of year that your deceased relatives will come around to visit. All right? I mean, there's a lot of family that come around this time of year, all right? So you might have that going on right now and not realize it. And this is your chance to find out who is there. All right? So if you want to do that, you can do that at Venmo at California Haunts. Just that simple. Just sign up at Venmo at California Haunts. $12, boom, you're in. Or if you're uncomfortable with Venmo, head on over to the meetup, California Haunts meetup. You can sign up over there. And that's a PayPal one. Okay? All right. Now, that being said, Nancy's patiently in the waiting room hearing me BS. And she's going to hear a little bit more BS out of me. But here we go. Let me bring in Nancy Matz.
Hi there.
Good evening.
Hello, everybody. Happy Friday night. Look at this. Your hair and my hair and your hat just like, well, I'm getting a little bit of feedback.
I don't know what's happening with that. My day was like this. Okay, I put up it's not done yet, but my aloha tree.
Okay. The Christmas tree you're talking about.
Yes. The issue I have, though, is I have a dog that likes to eat everything in sight.
Oh, my gosh.
So I have my other tree in the house that's a candy and cake tree. It's a fun tree.
A candy and cake?
Yeah. It's got it's got
show me.
Yeah, you've seen it. It's the fake candies and
it's got. I saw Aloha. I like that one too.
Yes,
that was very fun.
And Monica, before she passed, got me a couple of snow cones to put on there and stuff. I mean, it's all themed. That whole tree, the sweets tree, and the dog took it literally, and so it's like having a house with a toddler. Now the first 2 or 3 rows of my 7.5-foot tree have no ornaments because the dog has destroyed them.
Oh,
you know. So my aloha tree now, and it isn't as heavy as the 7.5 foot tree because it's an older it's an older fakie, and so what I did was I took a box and I set the box on the ground, and it's about probably about a foot off the ground now, and the tree sits up higher. It's a 6 foot tree for her.
I
And
think
then the problem I have is I have another dog that's 15 years old that wears a helmet on his head because he has rash issues where he's always chewing himself. So he will bump into things,
same.
and destroy things. So if the tree's sitting down low, that other tree, it's going to go down because it's light. So I have it up high. So far, they haven't done anything to it. The issue I had,
That makes me fun. That's so funny because I know what this looks like, everybody, and it's really sad. She got
and so I'm really short. I'm short. I'm only 5'5". Okay, I'll admit it. And I've just realized I couldn't reach up to the top of the tree, so I had to lift the tree off the box in order so I could put the lights on, so I had to lower it to the floor. So as I'm lifting this 6 foot tree, I thought I was doing a really good job until the top let go, because I didn't realize I had grabbed it
God.
above where it connects with the bottom, with the base, the bottom part. So as I'm lifting, and I have a bad back, so I'm trying to be really careful and meticulously do this, the tree starts to lean over on me.
Oh no.
And I'm thinking, what in the hell am I going to do? So I had to wrestle that for like 5 minutes to get it, and then I had to get it back in the hole. You got the whole top of the tree port set up. Got to get that back in the hole, and I finally got the lights on. Finally got the tree back in the spot. But that was my adventure today. Was fighting a 6 foot fake tree, and it was fun, even though the tree tried to eat me. It's kind of like this. There was a Saturday Night Live skit a few years ago where the
Mhm.
Christmas trees attacked, and that's what it felt like when it came over
I
the
never
top.
saw that. I
Yeah,
watch very little
it was
TV.
Attack of the Christmas Trees. you know. But that was my adventure. But the Aloha tree, like Nancy says, it's really cool. It's got different things on there.
Very
There's
cool.
cool. There's tiki stuff on there. There's Hawaiian stuff on there. There's sushi on there. We found fake sushi at Michael's. So it's unique stuff to Hawaii. We got an Elvis statue. We got an Elvis ornament because obviously. And I put a camera on there for the tourists. I'm always looking out for people.
How funny is that? Yeah,
So yeah, so I'm just
I have a
starting to get
picture.
the ornaments on there. Yeah.
First time I saw a picture of it, you know how you look at something. What am I seeing? And she had to come and tell me what it was. It was fun.
Yeah.
Mm,
It's one of these trees you have to walk up, just like the Swedes tree. It's one of these things, kind of like you see at the store. You have to walk up and look at like
mhm.
every individual ornament because there's
Yeah.
different things on there that draw your attention and stuff. So yeah. Now next year, hopefully, if I get everything organized properly, I'll have 3 trees up. So that'll be kind of fun.
Which one was your mother's favorite?
My mother's favorite was the fruit tree.
Which one did you put up today?
I had did the aloha tree, and then I had the candy tree up. She loved the candy tree though in the end because it was so big, but she loved the aloha tree. She loves them all, but the aloha tree because it was the last few she saw. So
Oh,
between
okay.
that one
Yeah.
and the candy tree were the last 2 trees I had up here before she passed. But I also have a Douglas fir that's 6 feet tall that's in the shed right now. And I did an old fashioned tree where we hung. I went out. My mom had the idea years ago. Years ago, the in thing was hanging apples from your Christmas tree.
Oh.
And so my mother loved the idea over the years. And so I turned around and I bought apples on eBay and got a whole bunch of those. And then I thought, you know what? It's all red. And of course, Nancy knows how I am. I just can't sit there and look at these apples. So I started buying bananas and grapes and all this other stuff, and oranges. And so this tree, when I
Oh.
get done, it's all fruit. It's an old fashioned tree, and it's all fruit, all different fruits and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I even managed to find some cranberry garland for it.
Oh,
But
that's pretty.
instead of regular Christmas lights, I had the bright idea, like old style candles. But those old style candle uh, lights are dangerous. So what I did was I went to the dollar store because you can buy them in packs of 2, right? I went to the dollar store and started buying fake those little round fake tea lights.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I amassed like 30, 40 tea lights, and then you just can order the batteries real cheap on eBay. And so what I do instead of putting regular lights on the tree, I'll buy enough tea lights to get me through the season. Enough tea light batteries,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
and then I'll put them on the tree. And it's real pretty at night.
Everybody's seen those for fake candles.
Hmm.
you put a candle, you don't want to light it because you got cats,
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
cats.
Yeah.
So you buy this little round white with a little
Hmm.
flicker, but it's plastic. I don't even put the battery inside and you turn it over, you turn it on, and it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I have a
So
couple
it's an
candles
old
around here. I
fashioned.
do that.
Yeah, it's an old fashioned effect when they're sitting on the boughs.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
hopefully next year, everything will work out, and I won't be behind schedule, and I can get the third tree up and
Yeah.
do that with it. I also have a glass version of that of the trees too. Then, but I'm afraid with my animals, I have nothing but glass ornaments.
A glass version. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, not the
That-
tree's not glass, but the ornaments are all really neat blown glass and stuff. And I'm afraid to put it out because of the
oh, I
animals.
I wanted to. I forgot to put comment. Oops. Shar, you tell me if this is clicking. I want to say hi, Jen, Marissa, Jerry, uh, Sarah. Hello, girls and men, women. Apples. I never heard of that. Popcorn. Yes, I when my kids were little, I did do popcorn also. Uh, and there's one little lady who isn't in the chat room, Jessica. I talked to her today. She told me she
Hmm.
watches the show Friday nights. She's a real
All
sweet
right.
girl. Really sweet girl.
Hello.
I loved her today.
Hello,
So I'm
everyone.
acknowledging, and I apologize for not turning the comments on sooner. You can get tea lights with a timer from Amazon.
See,
Oh,
that's what I need. See, I can just pop them
yeah.
babies back on.
Well, I
It's kind of
I cheated. I've got the tree with the um, lights already in it,
hmm.
and it's fiber optic. I
There
really
you
like
go.
that. Yeah,
My
and
my 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 uh my sweet trees like that.
it's
The
really
sad
pretty.
thing about that is I have a really neat tree topper for that, and it's a cake tree topper that looks like a snowflake.
Cake. Oh,
But my tree
oh,
is so tall that because I have an 8 foot ceiling in there, and the tree's 7.5 feet tall, and the thing the topper is like a foot tall at the back, so I
hmm.
can't put it
Well, we were going to sometime
in.
to
Okay.
get started. I'd like to talk about, we did discuss which one. Shar came up with some really good choices. The others, The Sixth Sense. And depending, now we start a little late, we're going to
Right.
talk about
We're
those.
just
But
gonna roll.
if we run out of topic on those two, because I like to look at them kind of like inside the plot and seeing the producer, the director, the writer, what are they really trying to tell us? The one I would like to do next tonight, if we have time, if not, maybe next week, is
Hmm.
Crimson Peak.
Okay.
Crimson Peak. Remember that? It
Well,
was
I
a
have an
gal.
idea about next week too that we can do that with. So I haven't hit
Okay,
you with it yet. I have this,
okay,
but I'll hit
okay.
you at the end. I'm going to surprise you.
And why are we doing this? Well, it's fun to talk about movies. These are all kind of like on the fringe of being spooky, ghosty, of course.
Hmm.
But at this time of year, a lot of people aren't watching this
Hmm.
shows, so we're going to have fun for a few Fridays and do this. I think that Shar wants to put together a couple of the readings, so that would be in addition to um, these Friday night shows, and only because it needs to be more
Right.
specialized.
Now,
Uh,
now, now,
but
now. Before we get started, I want to add something. When
okay.
my team goes out to do a preliminary investigation
Hmm.
at someone's house or someone's business, I have a 101 question questionnaire. We go really into what's going on in the house, and the people that live there. One of the questions deals with movies and TV. We ask them directly, excuse me, we ask them, you know, what movies are your favorite movie, ghost movies, or what TV shows are your favorite ghost shows? And they'll tell you what they are. And then we say, well, how does that, or how does what's going on in your house relate to those shows that you've seen?
That could be a two-edged sword. You might want to say, we're doing a survey. We're just trying to get a feel of what population out there watches certain shows. Tell me your favorite. And then when you're done, say, or you're investigating, do you see a correlation? Because
Hmm.
I think we set ourselves up to see these things. There was a real,
Hmm.
mm, I'm trying to think of I saw it on YouTube and it was not a documentary, it was set up like one. And this young man was talking about disappearing. And he says, I think that the shadow people are after me.
Mm.
And so he's done this he saw a documentary talking about the shadow people coming and to get him. And of course, he does disappear. Right after that, a few months after that, this has been like 3 years ago or something, and it was done very, very well. Um, the shadow men or something. It's a gentleman in his front room, and he's doing a doc like we're doing on camera.
Right.
And he's
Right.
talking about his fears. Well, shortly after that was a real big rush on people seeing shadow people in their homes. It,
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is, and I think we get impressionable.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Shar does have people in her house. I talked about her mom. By the way, she's wearing blue tonight. So she wanted me to tell you that it's a blue silky looking thing with flowers, a small pattern. Is that, do you know, recognize that? The
I
blue,
don't, but it could be something she wore to work once because that's how she dressed for work. So
for some reason, she's showing me that. And I thought I saw my pop up. Sorry, kids. Um, so impressionable, yes. Uh, do I have a ghost in my house? Because no, I really do have one because I saw him and described it to the manager of the complex and
hmm
the verification of the what the person looked like. Yes, yes, yes. And they either live in our life, our time, and see what we see, or they live in theirs. And
hmm
it's not always easy to determine because
hmm
this house was his 20, 30 years ago, something, 30 years ago. He knows the way through the house. And it's really odd. It's really odd. We're going to be talking about ghosts who are stuck, ghosts who are semi-conscious but don't want to change. And so I'm going to, which one would you like to start with, Shar? You pick.
let's go with I see dead people. I'm gonna go with that one. Let's just go. That's all I can think of. I see dead people.
We're not trying to give it the plot away. If you haven't seen it, I cannot see the chat room. I have over here,
Jen, which
um,
one haven't you seen? Jen says she's one she hasn't seen. Which one?
I think that's Crimson Peak because I think
Oh,
the
maybe that's what
comment
she's
was
talking
made.
about. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
I've
made
never
a
seen
few
that one
minutes
either.
ago. Oh, you're
I've never seen
kidding.
that one either.
Oh, hello. It has um, Tom Hed- Hedleston. He's a
Okay.
very
Oh, no, just so I can see.
Hiddleston. You'll recognize him in a moment. And of course, the lead is Maya. I'm so bad with foreign names. Uh, so anyway, Crimson Peak is something you want to see, everybody. Well, The Sixth Sense starts out with a child psychologist or psychologist,
hmm
whatever, and he goes to this banquet, and they give him a plaque of "Hooray, you've done so well! It's wonderful, wonderful." And he goes home, and someone's broke in, and it's a young man, um, tall, lanky, and this person has snuck into his house and is telling him, you didn't help me when I was a child. I was seeing ghosts and you didn't believe me." And he shoots Bruce Willis and then shoots himself. And then somehow the screen goes dark and we pick it up where Bruce has come out of the house, he's going to go to work, he's on his way. And he's had a lead of talking to a young man where the family's in discord because the young man has got psychological problems. And he goes and visits him. And unfortunately, the boy says, "You won't believe me." There's a big struggle of words. And he says, "Okay, okay, I'll tell you. I see dead people." And the psychologist sits back and, like, it's ringing true to him. He's heard that before, but he doesn't remember. And he's having a hard time wanting to believe this boy. So he kind of makes up, well, this could be it, this could be that. And it goes through with the boy seeing ghost and being like in the school, he saw the building being used as a hanging post where the criminals would be brought in and hung from the rafters. And those are clearly spirits that have not and will not move on until they wake up.
hmm
He has gone to a birthday party, and the boys torment him because he's a little different. Um, and they trap him in a room where there's ghosts, and he's terrorized. In fact, he's so terrorized that there's actually something in there. And and he goes to his mother's and says, "Mom, something's wrong." And he she pulls the shirt up, and he's got these massive scratch marks on him. And at that point, she takes him to the hospital, and the psychiatrist does come and visit him. And that's when the boy admits, "I see ghosts, and this is what hurt me." And it gets pretty involved. There's other ghosts in there. When in the house where he lives, it fires up again, and he sees a young man walking through the house, and he goes, "Shh," and he turns around, and the back of his head is blown off. There's another little girl. Now, he's what we call a locked-in ghost. There's a
Mhm.
cycle that repeat and repeat. More than likely, he got shot and the bot didn't stop, and the loop was always in that way. You'll see what I'm talking about. The other one is somebody that is hiding, and he has created a tent to be safe. Blankets over chairs. A lot of moms have fixed that for little kids, right? And he gets in there, and there's a little girl in there, young girl, and she might be 12, and she's talking about needing to have him do something for her. And she pushes forth a small box. Do this for me. Do this for me. And it comes out that they're invited, or how this happens. I'm not sure. It's been years since I've seen the movie. Um, in fact, I have had no extra time in 2 weeks to sit and watch these movies. Um, uh, he gets to go to the funeral of this little girl. And at the end, this is more than halfway through the movie. And there's incidences through that. And he gives the box to the father. And the father looks at it, and it's the mother of this child poisoning her. Shar, what is that called? When a mother take the child to the hospital, and the mother gets all the attention, and um, Mon, Hauser, Monhauser, something other
Yeah, I
symptoms,
don't know. Yeah.
syndrome, right? And I forgot what it's called, but I wasn't thinking I would speak that word. But so in the movie, uh, the boy gives the VHS to the father, and they watch the mother poison the little girl. And though she's arrested and taken away. The other thing that's in the movie, which is amazing, is they're in the car toward the end of the movie. There's a couple things I'm leaving out because I want to go back and address some of these issues.
Mhm.
Is that the mother knows something was going on with this boy and starting to believe him. And the mother sitting there, and the little boy says, "You know, Grandma's really proud of you." And she immediately boo, 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 and he goes to explain that she did attend her ballet recital, and kind of closes in some of the things that he probably would never have known about.
Mhm.
And then she has this belief system, and she was the antagonist of the whole movie, really putting the boy in an uncomfortable place, um, forcing, go on, do this, do that, and the boy's agonizing, like in the kitchen. She fixes breakfast and put it at the table, and he sits there. She goes in the living room, comes back, and all the cabinets are open, and he's dug his nails into the kitchen tabletop because it wasn't him. And so the antagonist is unfortunately disturbing the boy even more. So Bruce Willis is supposed to help this boy overcome this. In scenario, it's the same situation with the young man that shot himself in the beginning of the movie. Because in that house, he had the basement to himself, in the house that he shared with his wife. And later in the movie, he starts putting together, and he's starting to remember. So he gets the tape, cassette tape, of an interview with this little boy that grew up to be the man that shot him. And he's sitting by himself, and the psychiatrist, Bill Willis, leaves the room. He says, "I'll be right back." And when he goes and replays the tape to be able to hear, just to find out where he was, he's playing it. And the boy's sitting by himself, and he's hearing someone speak French behind him. So on the tape, that's supposed to be a little boy sitting still in the room, is the voice of a stranger speaking French. Now, in my world, um, I I talk to people all nationalities and cultures, um, and I've not yet not to be able to understand somebody. And that was pointed out to me so many years ago. There's a family in Greece that talks to me, and the first time they did, the grandpa or the father told the daughter what he wanted to ask questions. So it was her I was on the phone with in English. I would say something. This is all being taped. She could have just waited.
Mhm.
Turns around and says, Dad, blah, 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 in Greek. Of course, I can't understand a thing. And so that's how it works. But my answers came to me in English. So I was a little surprised to hear French on the tape. Just, I don't know how that works. In other countries, in France, some little psychic sitting there, medium like me, hears in her own language. Now, if I showed up in spirit person and start talking English, how would they hear it? How would she interpret it? That's a really good question. Um, so I'm not sure how it works. I'm not sure. I actually hear words, but I'm so visual. A lot of
Mhm.
like playing a movie in my mind, they'll show me things like yesterday. There was a death in the family, and they want more proof than just my giving visuals. Well, I came up with a birthday cake. I says, "Oh my gosh, the woman's showing me a birthday cake. Oh, 15 years ago, she had the birthday of all time. It was her 61st birthday." And I says, "Well, isn't that odd? She would want me to see that." And we sometimes forget that when I give a validation like that, it's not in a tearful moment. It's usually a happy moment because they want you to remember them that way instead of the profound grief. It's very hard. I'm so sympathetic because I did lose my mother also. And unfortunately, as time goes on, sometimes we miss them more. But she's a kick. I tell you, sometimes she'll show up and scare the bejeebies out of me. And other times I just feel her. Are you showing up? Kind of feel her coming into the room, kind of feel her energy here. But anyway, you have to call them, you have to ask for them. They're doing their own world and they can come
Mhm.
quickly. Oh, is that my
Mhm.
daughter calling me? So, but anyway, so there's a lot of spirits in this movie. They're clearly locked into a pattern and they can't get out of it. So Bruce Willis is a conscious ghost. He can't move on. So in the movie, it's revealed that he is the ghost of it also. But he's in this pattern that he cannot move on until he releases the guilt of the, the child that he helped and didn't believe. I found that to be exciting.
Mhm.
Um, right. And so the underlying theme of this is the mother. Did she believe her child? No, she did not. Did she want to? Sorta. But in her struggle, she came to be a realization there's more because she got a message from her mother that made her son did okay. But up to
Mhm.
that point, the boy had buried all this for fear of mother not loving him. To me, that was a subplot that was very, very important. The other thing that was important is the wife couldn't release him either. So when Bruce comes in one night, dark outside, so I don't know what time of year it was, but it was not winter. She has on the TV their wedding. So she's struggling to let go and allow him to be a spirit person. And we as
Mhm.
human beings don't realize that that also can pull that spirit person in a loop. Say you're grieving and you have a couple of important times in your life you put on camera. If you watch it over and over, you are pulling that spirit to you. So you want to watch it as in rejoicing that you had time with this person, not
Mhm.
watching it as in grieving the loss of that person. It's how we interpret what we are in, inviting into our life and enjoying versus crying. It's very hard. Um, I've had death in my family, friends in my people around me. It's very, very difficult. But at the same time, what is making it so difficult? It's you losing what you want the most. It's like
Mhm.
a terrible breakup where the person leaves you and you say, "Well, I had planned on having that person in my life. I made a movie of what I expect."
Mhm.
Is that clicking?
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So sometimes you have to look at why are you grieving what you lost? You're angry at that person. Remember, I'm trying to say it the best way possible. Be grateful that you had that person for as long as they have. I am actually talking to people, and I've dealt with dying people, very young people, and it's sometimes difficult. And I hope when I go, someone will say, "I'm so glad she gave us as much as she did. Now
Mhm.
you can go play Nancy," which I would love to do. Just can't imagine taking a month off and going somewhere. Just read every book in my house. So in some ways, you have to rejoice that they don't because they are alive. Everybody, I see them all the time. And Shar was a little just ruffled this morning with this spirit person in the house. She says, "Oh, my dog, my dog." And I says, "Did the dog know her?" No, she didn't know. Oh, okay. So she doesn't recognize your mom. And
Mhm.
I felt so strongly it was mother. And I
Mhm.
think she was there because of the Christmas. She reminded me. And then
Mhm.
she showed me what she had on. Now she comes up with the blue silky top. Um, I can't tell for sure what she has on. I can't tell, but she thinks she looks really good. Thank you.
I wonder if it's one of her popcorn tops because in the end, she
What?
loved. It was easy to dress her in those.
I don't know
You
what
know,
that means, but popcorn
well,
top.
they're they have a lot of elastic on them, and they're this is that silky
Oh,
material.
no, no.
No, okay,
This is
okay,
very smooth blouse.
okay,
This
okay,
is not rippled so that,
okay, okay, okay.
yeah.
Right. Okay.
This would be something she might have worn 10 to 15 years, 20 years ago. It
I
fits
remember
her,
that one.
and she has a small bosom. Her shoulders look really good. So she looks better. And I
Mhm,
think she wants you to she might have known we were going to talk,
mhm.
that she looks good. And she
Good.
was there, and I believe she makes me think she knows about your radio show, she knows about the TV, the feeling of being freed up from being
Mhm.
tied down feeling. She says, I
Yeah.
got tired sitting on my butt. So she likes that she can walk now. Oh, thank you for
Cool.
that message. She shows me sitting in the chair. She got tired of sitting.
Makes
That's
sense.
that's true too. I get tired of
Yeah,
sitting
that's
all
true.
day. I do computer work. I go, oh my gosh, I haven't sit one more minute. Um, that's very nice. I love that. Yeah. Your dad hasn't come around for a while, but we digress. Let me go on here.
Okay, continue.
Now, for Bruce Willis, he was haunted by the death of the death of the man, but that he failed. He wasn't aware that he failed, and this was creating the loop. But as he agonized over the man who shot him, the last words he heard were, "You failed me." So going
Mhm,
to his death, he captured those words. So when we talk about hospice, and I went through, well, two formal courses, and then I had did a refresher up. Um, anyway, we are to attend to the needs of the dying. We're not
mhm,
there to convince, to teach, enlighten. By the way, I want to tell you my philosophy of death. You don't go there. You want to go there with, I rejoice in who you are, share with me. And I always encourage people, record everything because as with my mother, we did interview her several times. You miss people's voices.
mhm,
You want them to be able to say what they need to say. So it's encouragement to do that for sure. Of course, there's hospice nurses over here trying to make the people comfortable, but I
mhm,
find that very, very encouraging, um, even to the point where you have to allow it. There was one girl dying of a brain cancer, and I remember going to it was in Roseville Care Center. I'm trying to remember the name, but it doesn't matter. And the nurses and people didn't want me to talk to her because she didn't believe she was going to die. Okay, what is my job? By the way, you are dying. Huh?
mhm,
I can't do that. If she wants to believe she's going to live, what do you think I should tell her? You're going to be fine because she will
mhm,
ultimately.
mhm,
And so you have to not disagree with them. It's like someone dementia, you go that way. So what trapped Bruce was no one was telling him, by the way, you're okay. What the
mhm,
last thing he heard was you're bad and wrong. So someone dying around you, you want to give them good feelings. I'm holding your hand. Let's sing together. You have messages for people. Just relax and enjoy it. Um, a couple of the people know what I did for a living, and I've already talked about some of them. They want to know who was greeting them. Of course, I'm going to say everything, right? Oh my gosh, look at all these people around here. Sometimes there's a whole group of them. Sometimes it's just one person. One little lady was in the hospital. It was just one person showed up. It was her grandma. And she
mhm,
held all these ribbons in her hand, pink ribbons, just dozen of them. And when this lady was a child, African hair, and she would braid um, these little pigtails all around her head and all be ribbons like flowing hair. And when I said that, I went, "Oh my gosh, guys, you're going to be right or you be wrong." You know, I trust my eyes. I don't always trust my ears. But she showed me a picture, and I almost started crying again here. And I left, and she died a couple days later. And I said, "I bet you died with a smile. What else do you want?" Right? So
mhm,
unfortunately, Bruce's case, no, nothing could happen. The wife was hysterical, trying to stop the bleeding, and he dies with, "You failed me." So in the movie, he helps the boy. He helps the boy by understanding and releasing the anguish. He helped the boy, and the boy helped him. by saying, "Thank you so much. Now you can go because you've helped me." So he released Bruce Willis. The main character, like I said, wasn't just always what you're seeing. It's the mother, the little boy, and her, the undertow.
Hmm.
For Bruce, it was denial that he didn't do a good job. He was failing. And all the rewards he got, they meant nothing. For the little boy, he found somebody that could help him, even though he didn't want to talk to him.
Hmm.
So was he antagonist? Was he the one suffering? It's kind of a combination, but he was able to release the stress of what he'd been keeping inside, even if it was to a ghost.
True.
See, so that's pretty complex. Oh, Kelly, hello, dear. That's Australia. Tell me what time it is there, or what day it is. I'm trying to move this aside here. Um, trying to, Munchausen. Hi, Libby. Thank you very much. Uh, and then Kelly is from Australia. Hello, sweetie. I hope you're fine tonight. Okay. Um, do you have any questions in the room? I lifted my screen up so I can see if someone writes a question. Do you agreement with me or disagreement? Like I said, sometimes the plot isn't as we think it is. We watch it visually, but there's other some subplots to movie that sometimes are actually more important. Okay,
I
so
don't remember. I don't remember in that movie because of with Bruce Willis being dead. I don't remember in that movie if he was able to see the dead people as well as the little boy, or he
no,
didn't see them.
he
Okay.
did not. Mm-mm. That's because he was in his own loop.
Okay. Okay.
So he was in a loop of allowing himself only to see the boy.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
he was I call him semi, there's different degrees of ghosts. I've talked to you about that. And what can happen, terrible story. I won't even go into it. Um, I know of a death, and over a couple of years, the man turned into what we call a ghoul. And you would call demons so
Hmm.
they can go insanely insane. And I've seen it happen. And there's different stages of that. And so you can have the serious loop that never ends. The boy that said, shh, he turned around and the little um,
Hmm.
Haley, the young man of the movie, the teenager had the back of his head shot off. That will never stop for him until he realizes. The little
Hmm.
girl that was poisoned, she was not, um, she was a semi conscious, um, stuck in her loop. The reason I say that is she was not healthy. She was still throwing up.
Hmm.
So to me, that's still a ghost. That's not a freed spirit.
Hmm.
She was freed only after her mother was caught. Then she could let it go because she was murdered. And there was no validation for her to be able to tell anybody because no one would believe her. See, she had gone to hospital over and over and she never said anything. So she was in a kind of a semi conscious loop to me. I've seen that a lot, a lot. Um, the others, oh God, it was so deep. There were so many layers to this, it almost hurts my brain.
It's 11 a.m. Saturday in Albany, Western Australia.
11 a.m. Saturday, Albany, Western Australia. Oh, I know it. I have some people from different parts of the world, and I have to leave it up to them. I have a 1 o'clock tomorrow from England, and I have to leave it up to people. I don't even want to deal with it. On the bottom of my page, contact me at nancymap.com. I have a
Hmm.
world clock thing. You click on it, and it figures your times out. But uh, let's see. Libby says, I definitely interpret films differently nowadays. I didn't see that one. I appreciate both Charlotte and Nancy. Okay, so The Sixth Sense, absolutely. I really think that's a good one to see. Now, the others, the antagonist in this movie is the mother.
Hmm.
And at the beginning of World War One, oh, it was a very difficult time. They didn't have phones. They didn't, was it World War One or two? I think it was
Oh, yes.
two. It was two. And difference in clothing. All of a sudden, I realized I visualized her as she was in the movie, wearing what we call the look of the 40s, the slim dress, not the high
Hmm.
collars and the long hoop dresses, the bigger dresses of the First World War. Anyway, she is in terrible dismay because her husband has left to go to the war, and she's left. If anybody's been abandoned on left alone with children in an isolated, um, they were wealthy and they had a like a small castle, they were a mansion, and her children had a disorder of what they could not be exposed to the sun, photosynthesis issue. And I actually know somebody who had this. And so people who take particular medicines, like my sister has lupus, there's some medicine she takes that she cannot go in the sun. So these children had some sort of autoimmune issue with getting into the sun. And so in those years, what are you going to do? So you close up the house. So it's always dark. And it's been
Mhm.
proven that if you're in dark environment long enough, you will have depression. You don't have the vitamin D. I get cats in here moving around. Um, that causes depression. So she and her children have depression and issues. And it's very locked up and she's very alone. And the little girl is seeing ghosts. And the mother won't believe her. So you can see where the first layer is, right? And so at what point, um, she's all alone in this big old house. So to the front door comes a man, a woman, and a young lady. And they said, we are here to accept the position of servants for this house. And the woman said, I don't remember. Oh, I must have, but I don't remember. And how many months have I put that in? I can't remember that even. So at some point, she figures she put in those years, how do you put an ad, right?
Mhm.
So clearly they didn't have computer, they didn't have phone, they didn't have things that would make it easy. If she put an ad out, must have been to an agency in England somewhere. Finally, someone shows up and she's very grateful. And the woman, I'm going to go over there to get to the names.
It's
Um,
1945 too. While you're
19,
doing it, 1945.
1945. Okay. Um, so the people flee. Of course, I can't pronounce it. Fudge. These names, Flanagan. I know if you saw her picture, you would see her. Unfortunately, just passed away, and she's very light skinned, had white hair, and the man coming with her looks like a man that could be her age group, and they may be married.
Hmm.
Um, in the in the thing, they also have what we call late teen, early 20 girl with them. I think late teen. And oh my gosh, I'm looking at the Wikipedia. Best director, best writing,
I'm
best
looking at
performance of
Wikipedia
young.
too. That's where I'm at.
What's that?
I'm looking at Wikipedia too.
It's just amazing how many awards it came out. This was a release date 2001. The Sixth Sense was release date. Let me see if I go over here real quick. Um, oh, they don't have it on here. Oh, 1999, August 6th, 1999. Okay. So,
Suffice to say, the maid was Irish.
yeah,
Flanagan was a
Flanagan, right?
Finolua.
I know it,
This
right?
is me reading some of my books. God, okay, yeah.
You know, I don't hear it as well as I admit to. So people say these names, and I go, "Oh my gosh, can you give me a name I can say?" And the reason is on the tape they get it. They're gonna want to know who we're talking about. I don't know the, I can't pronounce these names. The husband of Nicole Kidman, who went to war, is Christopher Eccleston, and he was one of the Doctor Who characters.
Hmm.
So anyway, 1945 is the movie date. Anyway, so the three show up and they say, we worked here before 30 years ago
Hmm.
and 20 or 30 years ago. And of course, the young woman says, oh, and it never occurs to her that these people haven't aged, especially the young girl. And, and the, so, so anyway, the protagonist, I believe, is Nicole Kidman because she's controlling the actions, not only the servants, but of her children. And she's in what we call a conscious loop. She's not stuck rotating in the same way.
Hmm.
She is in charge and stuck in her environment, and she only sees the house as it was. And I
Hmm.
think that's what these people who live with us also most of the time, because Larry has found them. He invited them to sit down on the couch, and he did. Can you imagine what my husband must have looked like? You know, Mr. Uh, cat jumped up on here, one of them, so I'm going to have a cat on the table here. Um, she's in a conscious loop, but she's in denial of the actions that she took to make them be ghosts. And she's trapped this other spirits also. And so I do call this a trap situation.
Mhm.
And the three people who showed up, eventually we discover they were ghosts also and had died in a plague 20 years earlier.
Mhm.
And how she finds out, she's cleaning out the attic. And she comes across the pictures that were very popular a turn of the century up to the 40s, like 30s or 40s, of taking pictures of people who are dead. And I know you all have seen that. There's many few movies out that talk about this. And normal live people can have the pictures taken also, but it was very common, especially of the children
Mhm.
that set them up, make them look alive, or put them all in bed together. It's pretty creepy, but that's what they used to do. And so she comes across the pictures of these people, and then she forces them to leave because she thinks they're ghosts in her living world.
Mhm.
Very spooky. Um, it comes out that the awakening of Nicole is being forced to believe that these were ghosts. The
Mhm.
second thing is the daughter says, I see ghosts too. And so Nicole has a fit. She puts him to bed and come to find out the ghosts of the live people who are now living in the house and they disturbing the live people. And so it comes to a head where she's starting to realize something's beyond her control. And I call this waking up. I call this waking up. And she now is aware, unfortunately, because the child says to her, you killed us. You killed us. And she didn't remember that. And it was one night she puts a pillow over their faces and she smothers them because her husband has gone too long. And she is alone and she goes insane. So she's not really, she is guilty, but I don't know how you punish a person who's lost their mind. But in losing her mind, she kills the children. And in the midst of all that, I didn't leave it out. It's important. The husband does come home, but he has to leave again. And in that visit from the man, he comes in and he tries to tell her he's sorry that she killed him, the children, that he doesn't blame her. And of course, it
Mhm.
wakes her up to a point where she doesn't realize, what is he telling me? He can't stay. Why can't you stay? He says, well, I need to go back to the front. I came home to see you, but I have to leave. And in the course of him being there, he acts not normal. Like he's very distracted. Like his mind is still at the front with his comrades, and he has to go back. It's very sad um, that these people had to live like that. I can't imagine, but it was normal for them. Like how we explain to the kids 20, 30 years from now that are wearing their watches in their hand, like Total Recall, that
Mhm.
we had rotary. How could you manage a rotary phone? Oh my gosh.
Isn't the husband dead too? I thought the
Mhm.
husband was dead too when he comes back.
Yeah, absolutely. He's dead.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. She says, I'm going to town to find him because I can't stand being by myself anymore.
Mhm.
And she goes down the road and the fog comes in and she calls to him and he answers. So he just arbitrarily just shows up, which is kind of strange.
Mhm.
Um, so the plot of it is these three ghosts that show up. They took it upon themselves to work with her to release her, but to release the children because the children were the innocent ones, and
Mhm.
they were trying to wake her up to release the children. So the subplot is the rescue of the children. The husband comes back from the war knowing his wife is stuck, but so is he. But he
Mhm.
still says, I'm sorry that this happened to you, that you went insane. And she doesn't believe him. What do you mean? I didn't do anything wrong. And only after the child says, Mom, don't you understand? I've been seeing the ghost, but we're the ghost because you killed us. Can you imagine her astonishment? So she puts in the bed and goes in the hallway, and then she gets her memory that she shot herself after killing the kids with a pillow. Another subplot is the people who bought the house are trying to decide if they want to stay or not. And they have a medium that's
Mhm.
unfortunately blind. And she comes, and the little girl, somehow the child, has always known that she was stuck, but she didn't know how to tell her mother. And the medium somehow knows that this, whoever she's talking to, it's okay to say what went wrong. And she says, do you know you're dead? And the little girl can't believe it, but that she really does know.
Mhm.
And it was shortly after that she says, Mom, you killed us. Because she was always able to see these individuals. In the end of the movie, unfortunately, they don't stay. They can't stay
Mhm.
because the ghosts are not leaving, but they do live or choose to be there because they love it. And now photosynthesis issues with the ghosts is no longer, so they open the curtains up.
But the other interesting thing about all this too with Nicole Kidman and even her character as the ghost, she thinks she's losing her mind because she'll close the
Again,
drapes and she'll walk into rooms, the drapes will be open or the door will be unlocked and open and stuff, and she can't figure out why.
right, right. So, um, right, that's right. That was a
Yeah.
little tidbit that I forgot. So she thought she was going insane again.
Hmm.
Um, it made me sad, the movie, because I
Hmm.
could feel that she really believed what happened, and I also believe that things like that did happen, that
Hmm.
people can go insane. Isolation is the worst thing you do for somebody, especially someone who has kids and children that are not well.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
the meaning for locking the doors, this was a very, very large house, and there were doors that she felt should be locked in case the child accidentally goes in there without realizing and gets hit by the sun's rays. Kind of like a vampire thing. You go in it, you're going to
Right.
blister up.
Right. 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 But it's fascinating when the medium is doing her reading and she's trying to contact the kids and she's talking to the mother, and the
Yeah,
mother keeps running away from her because Nicole Kidman didn't want to talk to her at all,
right.
and so
Hmm.
she was having to deal with trying to get Nicole Kidman's attention to
But
figure out what
what,
went wrong.
right. And so the little girl was standing there
Hmm.
and talking to the medium. Uh, People talk to me, and it's hard to. The budget was 17 million, and it grossed 209.9 million dollars. That's a lot of money back then. 20 years back. That's a lot of money. That was very, very good
Let's talk
movie.
about that sequence, okay? You being a medium, let's talk about that sequence when the medium is communicating with the daughter and trying to communicate with Nicole Kidman. How accurate was that?
I've actually done automatic writing,
Hmm.
and I didn't see the girl doing this at all, but I
Hmm.
have felt the power of somebody when I was doing automatic writing. And so when I was working in Spirit of Grace in Citrus Heights, California, the Universal Christ of the Master Church, and we went through classes. I taught classes. We talked about automatic writing, and I would um, almost be overtaken, just like in the movie with the blind medium. And
Hmm.
a few times I would draw somebody, and I still can. It just takes a lot of time. I choose not to because I'd rather help people versus taking time.
Hmm.
And it was proven to me that they can draw if you have somebody that knows anatomy good enough. I'll never forget this. I was drawing a woman's grandmother, and she had passed away. Very lovely. In fact, the lady I was talking to was named Nancy. And she did pass away, but I just thought she was a kick. Anyways, I was drawing the picture of the grandmother, and I'm right-handed. I was having a heck of a time, and she was getting frustrated with me. It was on and on and on, and I thought, why is the woman frustrated with me? I'm doing the best I can. I'm talking about the spirit lady. And
Hmm.
I got done, and Nancy was just thrilled I did a good job. It was really hard. It took me twice as long time.
Hmm.
And then she said, I'm right-handed. And she says, well, Grandma was left-handed, and she had had a stroke. So she said, I wonder if she couldn't transition your difference in the arms. I had never thought of that before. So I don't know how often that has, but I have been overtaken. And and in some ways, the anxiety and the stress of the death took her
Hmm.
over. So in the movie, it gets really intense. because she's picking up, even though she's blind, she's able to write. Um, uh, I can't remember the words, but I remember her writing them over and over, help
Mhm.
or something. And it was because the little girl started screaming and yelling. And
Mhm.
so that energy can take you over. Absolutely. It's not my favorite thing to do, transfiguration type stuff. I've
Mhm.
had it a few times, kind of interesting. Like I said, I like more control. I wish they just talk to me versus take me over because it doesn't feel like I'm living my life. They are living theirs through me again. 'Cause I'm
Mhm.
really hot on that free will thing. So that does happen. I do believe that will happen. So if we did a ghost investigation, I sat down. Or let me put it this way, some in the audience are sharp. Why don't you sit down and get a pencil and paper and see if you're taking over? I guarantee you it does not feel good. I don't know if I like that. Now, if it's a loving husband or friend or family member, oh, mom, you want to do this? Let me sit down. Hug me up and take over my arm. Absolutely. But not in a
Mhm.
strange situation like that. I'd rather
Mhm.
just look at them. Tell the people, well, they look like this. Walk in the room. Let me talk to you. Don't take me over.
The other
Uh,
thing that strikes me with that movie too is the family that moved into the house. The little boy obviously could, the young boy obviously could see them.
that's
See
right.
the
And he's the one
where
that
the
started talking about them.
yeah, where the parents couldn't see it. But the parents were really more open. I mean, it was interesting because the parents were open to it
Right.
more
Yeah.
so than Nicole Kidman was with her kids seeing stuff.
Right. Um, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
I think they had to have that, or else they wouldn't know how to close the movie down. It's like
Hmm.
the parents left,
Yeah.
and it didn't matter their wealth. It didn't matter, So um, I thought it was very well done. The
It was, and
daughter,
out of all the movies that are out there, a lot of the ghost hunters will tell you that that is probably the most accurate depiction of what actually transpires in people's houses.
oh yeah, yeah, they're caught in a loop.
Hmm.
The ghost man that lives here was the manager of this big, big complex, and I'm not going to say anything wrong here, am I? His ego was based on his power and control. He
Hmm.
must have been a military man of some caliber because he kept a lot of guns. And I don't want to get him and mad at me. He would walk through the house and go into the front yard. And we all have yards. It's kind of a bigger place. And he would stand there so he could see through all the subdivision. And it's it stroked his ego.
Hmm.
And I think that's why he's still here. He is living in their time,
Hmm.
not in ours. So the little girl at the end of the movie could see the little boy because she acknowledged there was humans living there, living humans.
Hmm.
And so she trans from her time to their time. Now she's a spirit in their world. And she won't leave her mother because mother is not real solid. So as
Hmm.
spirits, they unconsciously decided to stay with their mother. They're not stuck ghosts anymore. They're spirits, but with someone they loved that cannot be released yet. So in the
Hmm.
end of the movie, the mother decides to stay there and the children won't leave her, which is pretty profound. In my world, I've never seen that happen. I've had, oh my goodness, um, this is a really long time ago when you and I were doing Blog Talk Radio,
Hmm.
and I got connected to George Lopez, Port Orange Paranormal, and we were doing a show. And as has happened with you, I've had spirits show up, and two girls showed up, and they just committed suicide together, and they were hanging on to each other because they stayed together.
Hmm.
Normally, when someone dies, the family's there, they take them away. Whether they
Right.
had family to visit, take them or not, the children, these two young girls, 15, 14, 15 years old, they did not choose to go with their relatives. They clung to each other. That's the only time I've seen that. And the others, they do see that. You see that.
Hmm.
So in 32 years of seeing spirit people, this was of need, not by desire. When I see spirit people together, it's not because of woundology. They've passed over and they've met up together. like the husband who just died, and I'm going to call it the Marilyn in group Spirit of Grace.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she wanted to know how her husband was doing, but in reality, it was a test because what she really wanted to know was how her dead daughter was doing, who committed suicide at 21, like 30 years earlier.
Right.
So when I saw him, the daughter was sitting on a wicker basket, really big,
Mm-hmm.
heavy. You've seen them, you get it, Pier 1.
Right.
And so when I talked about the husband, I saw the daughter. And of course, like I said, if I see them, I want to describe them because I didn't know who it was. And when he passed over, the daughter greeted him. He created his heaven. It was a trophy room in this big house they lived in. And they were together. The two girls that committed suicide, that's out of need and fear.
Mm-hmm.
The others was out of need and fear because she didn't want to leave without the husband there, and she couldn't leave because the children were sick. So she
Right.
was trapped. Once she realized that she was also a ghost, then it was healthy for her to say, emotionally healthy, she thought, we're going to stay here until dad comes back or something different happens
Mm-hmm.
because this was her sanctuary. Now, as ghosts that were the children were healthy, now they could open the curtains, they could go outside.
Mm-hmm.
So for her, she kept the children to her. Like I said, I've never seen that before in 32 years, where I've seen that's kind of damage and the need to stay together. And the children are awake. They realize they just decided to stay with her because they loved her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really complex layers on layers of story. These people that write these storylines are amazing. There's so many layers to it. Okay.
What's
Um,
amazing though with that movie is that she was very religious.
yeah. Yeah.
And when the little girl would see the ghost, she would have her sitting in a room for hours reading scripture
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as punishment.
Right. I can't answer that.
Yeah.
Um, I'll get myself in big trouble by saying this. I'm going to anyway. 32 years. When I see spirit people, if they are of a religious group, they will show up in those clothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I have never seen a division in spirit of the religions.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, there's not a religious group over here for Muslims, not a religious group of people for here for Jewish people, not for Christians. They're all mixed together. There
Mm-hmm.
is no religion other than the praise of God, if that's what you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. Um, what was I? There was another point I was going to make, and went.
Sorry.
I love getting older. I love it. Yeah. Was there? Oh, I wanted to mention Lebby. Libby says, "Have you seen the movies Loopers?" Of course, I have. With Bruce
Mm-hmm.
Willis. That's that's on a different show. We'll talk about that sometime. Time travel, one of my favorite topics. But that's a discovery in that movie of the future, and
Mm-hmm.
it's so complex, you guys. That was really good. Loopers. What? Look it up. Loopers. Uh, question mark. Loopers. Oh,
So
no
next
question.
week we might go a little longer because what I've thought of doing, and along this vein, we can talk about that movie Crimson, obviously.
Crimson Peak. Hmm.
Yeah, Prison Peak. But what I thought of doing would be kind of fun because the it being the weekend it is, we can go through a Christmas Carol and we can talk about
You want to talk about Christmas Carol? That's
yeah, we
fine.
can talk about a Christmas Carol.
I think that would be very fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that
Scrooge
occurred to
and
me when
everything.
we were first starting. We could do that. Yeah. So we're going to talk about a Christmas Carol, and we'll talk about the Crimson Peak as well. We might go a little longer next week, but yeah. And then next week, just so you guys have a heads up, I'm going to be busy. It's going to be crazy because we're going to do that Friday night. Then Saturday night, I'll have some Christmas poems and some different Christmas stories. I mean, good Christmas stories, not people hacking each other to death. But
Oh, sure. At a Christmas time.
we're going to have a good Christmas story. Then Sunday, we're back to reading our book. People will be hacking each other to death.
I
That's
love
after
it.
the fact.
I love it.
But yes, that's on Christmas Eve. I will do. I might do Virginia. We might do Virginia's letter. We might do something
Oh,
like that.
read that. That's
Yeah,
very good.
yeah.
Hmm.
Night before Christmas, and I'm going to tell the story of the Christmas cat, the one that I like, and I find it humorous. I'm a big fan of Frasier, the show Frasier,
Yep.
and he would always do this thing about the little goat herder every Christmas, and they'd all roll their eyes, that. So I'm going to do the little goat herder on Christmas Eve as well, complete with goat effect, so you can hear the goats in the background, just for fun. So yeah, so I'll be here Christmas Eve, not long, maybe 45, maybe a half hour, 45 minutes, not very long, but yeah. So I'm gonna be here, and then of course the reading thing on the following, on Christmas Day as well. So it's gonna be a busy weekend, but yeah, I think next Friday would be great to do Christmas Carol and talk about Crimson Peak.
Or something else more cheery.
Yeah, something else more cheery. Yeah, yeah,
Right, right.
yeah,
Christmas Peak is a good movie, but I think maybe we could find something
yeah.
a little more Christmassy. I'll look.
You know what? We could talk about Topper. That'd be kind of cool.
Oh, I would. I love Topper.
Yeah,
That
when
was
we
very
talk
fun.
cheery, we could talk about Topper. How many of you
Well,
guys out in the audience have seen Topper?
oh my gosh,
Come on, tell me. Be honest.
Cary Grant. Was it Cary
Cary
Grant
Grant.
that played? Was it
Yeah,
Cary
Myrna
Grant?
Loy. Was it Myrna Loy?
Merloy.
Yeah,
Melissa,
we
thank
could
you.
talk about Topper. We could talk about Christmas Carol and Topper next
And
weekend.
there was a whole string of those movies,
And
and
I
they were
find
kind
that
of smart.
fascinating because that was done like in the 30s and 40s, and who the hell knew about all this? Really, really, really knew about this stuff back then, and it was pretty damn it was pretty darn
Well,
accurate as far as the ghosty part.
if you want to talk about something funny, I will try to find Laurel and Hardy and the ghost stories.
Yeah,
And there
they
was a
had those
couple.
too.
I think that most people aren't aware, but the spiritualist movement at the turn of the century was really big.
Yes.
Uh, yes, and it really got huge. People like myself back then, and I can appreciate this comes from my father's side of the family. My father was very gifted, um, way over the top. His mother, but it was her mother alive at the time of the Fox sisters. And so in Upper New York State, for Saturday night entertainment, my grandmother, Isabel,
Mhm.
used to watch mom and her friends do table tipping and get messages from spirits. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So you could appreciate when the First World War came around, that boomed. And of course,
Yeah.
there was a lot of false people because family members wanted to talk to their dead children, died overseas. It was terrible. I can't imagine. And
Hmm.
so a lot of dishonest people
Right.
came about, and which is too bad. So by the 30s, and there came out more people in the 40s trying to disprove it. When was Houdini? What era was he alive? Was it the
Really,
30s or
the 30s and
40s?
40s
Yeah.
with
So
Harry
he
Houdini.
tried to
Yeah.
disprove it. Yeah. And what's really crazy is Dr. Professor Gary Swartz, the one who double blind tested me, um, he became friends of Houdini as a spirit
Mhm.
man, and he used Houdini to leave mess. He'd ask Houdini a question, and in the morning it would come and show up on his computer screen that he answered the
Nice.
questions. So at the time I went to visit him at his home in Tucson, Houdini was just standing right there. I go, wow. And I didn't know what he looked like. And I had seen pictures of him, but sometimes you don't look at facial details a lot. And he
Hmm.
was standing there. I says, well, his body's like it. He had a certain look at his body. And I started describing, and Gary said, yeah, that's him. So, it's kind of crazy, right? Um,
Absolutely.
I love it.
Harry
Love it.
Houdini. Nice
Yeah.
Hungarian guy.
But he was the one that believed in this. Yet
Yeah.
he's there helping Professor Gary Swartz discover a way to talk to spirit people through electronics, like
Yes.
voice box, but
Yeah.
not same.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely. I have
Libby,
you.
thank you.
What's that say? Oh, I love your shared experiences. Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
I have too many stories. I don't have enough life in me from this point on to repeat everything that's happened to me and things I've done. It just hopefully some of
Lots.
these shows and my books I'm going to start writing. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to awaken people with a voice and get people to kind of well, see, I don't advertise myself very much. Somehow we got to get these people to give me an email or something.
Yeah.
Sometime I'd bring it up that I have my own channel.
Yeah.
So we'll go over there and subscribe. So as things I'm starting to do will show up there. But I've had a lot of fun
Absolutely.
with Shar.
Yeah.
Okay, kids.
All
Shar,
right,
close it up.
guys. So we're closing up for the weekend. Well, not closing up on Monday. Hang on, I gotta move my bottle here. Mark
Bottle?
Leslie, water.
What? Oh,
Mark Leslie is going to be with us. Author Mark Leslie. He's going to be talking about some true haunted tales on Monday. That's what's going to go on. 6:30 p.m. our usual time. So yes, thank you, Jerry. 6:30 p.m. our usual time.
Okay, I thought you
And
said 6 o'clock.
Pacific, yeah, Pacific. And then of course Sunday. Let me, this chair makes me stand in a new chair. Makes me sing. See,
I need a new chair too. I've been sitting this one for 20-some years.
All kinds of stuff, man. New chair, new tablet, hint. Yeah, no, I'm kidding. Mark Leslie will be here at the usual time. And then, of course, Sunday I'll be reading from our lovely book. Somebody told me they were grim stories last week. They were kind of grim, but I thought they were kind of cool because a lot of the stories that were grim ended up ghost stories. So it was pretty much like, haunted ships and stuff like that.
What show are you talking about?
The Sunday show that I did.
Oh, okay. The one where you read. Okay.
Yeah, the read, And yeah, okay. So I don't know what's going to happen this week. Hopefully it'll be some more grim stories. I don't know. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for coming. It's been interesting. Our numbers have gone off the charts this month.
Oh, I know.
We're so hot. We're in fact, right as of tonight, and I can pretty much guarantee after everybody listens tonight, and the RSS numbers come in, we're going to be sitting at 100 more than we were like yesterday. So we're averaging 100 extra a day now of people downloading the show.
And yes, maybe the audience isn't aware that you can hear us on YouTube over and over, or you could go to Facebook, and every time you do, because we get a click.
Or
but
Twitch,
the big numbers
come in over our RSS feed, which goes out over Apple Podcasts, and it goes out over iHeartRadio and Spreaker and all those
overseas. One time she said to me, 90 downloads from your show last night, something like that. Do I know 90 people?
Yeah, and
overseas. I don't know.
It's all coming in from overseas. It's really cool. It's really cool. And some months will be slower than others because I think what happens is the number somehow the guys will probably be listening and kill me. The guys overseas that are handling the numbers will download all at once, so they come in what I call download dumps, and it's kind of fun to watch because all of a sudden I'll get bombed with numbers. This month was one of those months, and I'm real excited. I want to thank everybody that's been listening. Oh my gosh, thank you. Keep listening. Don't do it because I'm just saying this today. Keep listening because we're enjoying it. It's fun to see these numbers come in, and it's fun to know that all these people are watching and listening.
Yeah,
they're listening to the show.
Very exciting. Mm-hmm.
It's really exciting to watch, and it gives me more incentive to keep going and all this good stuff and all that. Now, quick reminder. Yeah, quick reminder, tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific, Nancy and I will be doing that special reading, and like I said, it's $12 a reading. Now, if you don't have Venmo, okay, because that would be, as you can see the flashy thing down on the bottom anyway, Venmo, California Haunts. If you don't have Venmo, you can do it at PayPal. Okay, paypal.me at California Haunts. Real simple. Or if you don't remember that big long address, you can just go over to the California Haunts meetup and sign up over there. Because I have it over there.
.me at California Haunts.
PayPal.me at California Haunts. Or Venmo at California Haunts. But and Nancy will be at your beck and call for 5 whole minutes. And as you guys know, Nancy can get a lot said in 5 minutes. So if you want to have an extra Christmas treat, that's a cool way to do it. Good start off to Christmas, okay?
And it will be private. Each one of you.
Private. It's all each one of you, all private.
So the other people in the standby won't be able to hear because she'll mute them.
Won't be able to hear. It'll be like a green room on the dating game.
All right, kids. It's fun tonight.
Anyway, I want to thank all of you. If you like the show, share it with 5 people. If you hated the show, share it with 5 of your enemies. Equal opportunity. And if you're watching, if you're watching from Facebook, please be, and you haven't done it already, please be sure to hit that like and that share button. If you're watching from YouTube, I've been getting really good at this. Yeah, right there. See, I'm really good at that. That little ghost guy right there. If you click on that, that'll bring up the subscribe button. You can subscribe to our shows. We have more than 450 shows sitting over there, different topics, different things. And I think there's something in there that everybody will like. Okay, all kinds of guests. Some you've heard of, some you haven't heard of. But yeah. All right. And again, the ticker's down there, obviously, because we work on donations. That's I don't make money doing this, and I don't make money to ghost hunt. The group doesn't make money to ghost hunt, so we work on donations, and that's how we afford this luxurious lifestyle. So
It's
if
the
you could
equipment,
help,
honey. You need
yes,
replacement.
all the equipment. So if something breaks, hey, it comes out of my pocket, and I have to sell. I have to sell a lock of my hair or something to afford to pay for it. So you know, go
Right.
sell my blood
As
on
long
real.
as long as it is. As
As
long
long
as
as
it
it is,
is,
yeah.
right?
As long as it is, yeah. So if you guys can find it in your heart to help me out, that would be great. And again, that's Venmo at California Haunts or PayPal.me at California Haunts. All right. Anyway, thank you very much. I will see you guys on Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Pacific. And I want to thank everybody that came into the chat room tonight. You're all cool. Everybody's cool. Everybody that's listening, everybody that's going to be listening to RSS feed tonight, you're all cool. And I'm waving my hand. I'm turning into Nancy. And I'll see you guys
Oh my
Sunday. Here's
gosh.
Nancy's contact info if you're interested. And hopefully we'll see some of you guys tomorrow. That would be kind of fun.
Be fun.
See you off hours, right? So here we go, and here's Nancy's info, and away we go. All right, websites. NancyMatz.com, NancyMatzAuthor.com, and the N, M, and A are capped. And you've got YouTube.com/Nancy Matz Psychic. All right, help, get me out of this funk. That's a book by Nancy Matz. Two Worlds, Developing Your Psychic Skills, Nancy Matz. And The Unwilling Sacrifice by Nancy Matz. And of course, you can get those books at Amazon. Alrighty then, I will see you guys Sunday. Have a good couple days. Bye.